Hello, it's Monday, the 16th of May, and welcome to your 5-minute briefs from Seoul. I'm your host, Hee-Jin Koo. In our second installment of the month, we take a look at South Korea's move to expand international flights and ease entry requirements for travelers from overseas, and how Korean online platform services are trying to retain the attention of their customers who are once again allowed to travel and socialize amid eased restrictions, as well as concerns over food supplies amid surging global inflation. We'll also explore why the rising global demand for electric vehicles is not such welcome news for Korean auto parts makers. Let's begin our 5-minute roundup. South Korea is forging ahead with economic recovery efforts amid a continued downward trend in COVID-19 infections. The Asian nation is throwing open its doors, expanding international routes, and easing mandates for inbound travelers. Interior and Safety Minister Lee Sang-min said in a meeting of the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures headquarters on Friday that the government will increase weekly flights by 230 through June, more than double its initial plan of about 100. Such moves are aimed to help prop up the local travel and tourism industry decimated as a result of the global pandemic. South Korea also plans to streamline procedures for inbound travelers. Starting the 23rd of May, the government will include rapid antigen tests among valid results that overseas travelers must submit before entering the nation in a bid to improve travelers' convenience and help alleviate costs. And starting from the 1st of June, the government will also reduce the frequency of tests that overseas travelers must take before and after they enter the nation from 3 to 2. Meanwhile, its transport ministry also announced that it is in talks with relevant authorities in Japan to swiftly resume flights between South Korea's Gimpo and Haneda in Japan. A return to what can be considered as a more normal way of life is not such good news for everyone. South Korean platform operators are coming up with entertaining tools and services to keep consumers online as society once again begins to enjoy travel and outdoor activities as they are no longer bound by rigorous regulations. Korean metaverse operators are now facing what their global counterparts recently went through. US OTT providers such as Netflix and Disney Plus have been forced to transform their business strategies in line with a decline in users. The gaming industry is also pinning its hopes on blockchain technologies and NFTs with massive investment despite growing uncertainty. They're actively seeking to incorporate such tools into their games. Companies such as Naver Z, a metaverse platform unit of South Korea's largest search engine Naver, as well as SK Telecom, the nation's #1 mobile phone network operator, have recently teamed up with game developers and the music industry to keep their customers entertained, hoping to entice them to stay online. Still, a return to normal translates to a decline in earnings for platform operators at home and abroad, prompting them to see a downturn in stocks and earnings, a sharp about-face from the pandemic-led online and mobile boom. Meanwhile, soaring global food prices will likely exacerbate South Korea's soaring inflation as its self-sufficiency of wheat, corn, and other grains has steadily declined in recent years. This has aggravated concerns about an agflation, a portmanteau word that combines agriculture and inflation, already reaching new highs since Russia's invasion of Ukraine 2 months ago. According to data from the Center for Agricultural Outlook under Korea Rural Economic Institute last week, the country's unit import price index of grains for food is expected to reach 171.7 in the third quarter, up 7.4% from the second quarter's 159.9. The index for grains for animal feeds that directly affects prices of livestock products is also forecast to jump 6.8% in the third quarter from the previous 3 months. The agency had earlier projected grain import prices to surge 10% in the second quarter from the previous 3-month period. And according to Bloomberg and other media reports last week, the price of Indian corn futures for July at the U.S. Chicago Mercantile Exchange hit $8.07 per bushel, that's 25.4 kilograms, up 3% from the previous day. Ukraine, which handled 1/5 of the world's corn exports, has seen its global supply chains torn to shreds since the war. In the automobile sector, rising global demand for electric vehicles will cut the number of auto parts suppliers in Korea by 30% by 2030. This is according to a report released by the Korea Automotive Technology Institute, or KATEC, which has said EVs generally need 20 to 30% fewer parts than the traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. According to the report, global sales of EVs will likely jump to 28.4 million in 2025 and 57.7 million in 2030 from just 13.8 million this year. This category, which includes all electric vehicles, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and fuel cell vehicles, will account for a whopping 47% of new car sales in 2030, up from the current 14%. The association expects the number of auto suppliers for internal combustion engine vehicles will fall by 30% from 2,815 in 2019 to 1,970 in 2030, while suppliers of parts for eco-friendly vehicles are expected to increase by 350. And part of the reason is that Korea's localization of technologies related to EVs and autonomous driving lags far behind its expertise in traditional combustion engine vehicles. The nation's localization rates, that's to say the percentage of auto parts that are not imported for such combustion engine auto parts, reached 95%, but for pure electric vehicles, the rate stood at 68%. That wraps it up for this episode of 5-Minute Briefs from Seoul. This has been Hee Jin Koo for KBSI. Have a great week.